You know, I enjoy a nice scented candle sometimes. I got all different kinds. I got chocolatey ones, peppermint. I got this one that kind of smells like a Christmas tree. And there's been a few times when I put out the candle, I'm done with it for the night, I go to move it, and I get a little bit of a candle wax on my finger. And you quickly notice the unusual properties of the melted wax. How quickly it dries and hardens as it cools down, and how it just readily takes on the shape of whatever it's dried on. And it's pretty simple to make your own candles. A lot of people do it for fun or for profit. You can get all kinds of fun molds to make different shaped candles. But of course, anything that could be filled with wax could be a mold. I mean, it's basically how a kidney stone works, right? Yeah, you might say that you're basically walking around with a bunch of free candle molds at any given time. This is the story of the guy who put candle wax in his pee hole. This video is sponsored by Helix. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding custom fit to your needs and shipped right to your door. Everyone sleeps differently, so Helix has you take a sleep quiz to match your body type and sleep preferences. I'm a side sleeper, so Helix gave me a sunset mattress. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including their award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections. The Helix Plus, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and the Helix Kids mattress, designed for growing bodies and endorsed by child sleep and medical experts. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. Comes rolled up in a box and it's easy to set up. And to make sure you love your Helix mattress, there's a 100 nights of sleep trial. You also get a 10-year warranty, as well as financing options and flexible payment plans. And Helix mattresses are fiberglass free. I've been sleeping on a Helix mattress for a few years now, and it's some of the best sleep that I've gotten. And the Glaciotex upgrade that I got ensures that I stay cool when I sleep. I love my Helix mattress, and I think that you would too. So if you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix Sleep. Their 4th of July sale is running now, and it's a great time to upgrade your mattress. You can get 30% off an Elite or Luxe mattress plus 2 free pillows. Or take advantage of 25% off site-wide. Check out the Helix site for more details. On Friday, January 6th of 2017, a now deleted post was made to r/TIFU. TIFU by getting way too curious as a teenager and putting something somewhere I shouldn't have. Which honestly describes a good chunk of posts that are ever made to that subreddit. It's actually why the post was eventually deleted, as they now have a rule against the common types of oopsie daisies. In my opinion though, this one's a little special, and thankfully it was archived on r/undelete. The poster, 30 years old at the time of posting, tells a story from spring break 15 years prior when he was 15 years old. He couldn't go outside anywhere for undisclosed reasons. But I'm just picturing when Bart Simpson broke his leg and suddenly he becomes an Alfred Hitchcock character. Although I guess this poster is not so much Alfred Hitchcock as he is Alfred plays with his cock. And that's exactly what he did all summer. It's just him and his 56K modem on a never-ending goon sesh. He also mentions that he was a bit of a pyromaniac. But he quickly notes that it's not what you might be thinking. We're not getting any kind of reenactment of the end scene of Salo here. He blows out one of his candles, and as I spoke about in the intro, he gets some wax on his hands. And in his bored, cabin fever-addled state, he starts playing with it like Play-Doh. It gets to that point everyone gets to with Play-Doh where you just start rolling it up into a tube. He makes a 2-inch long pencil shape, and then he gets an idea. I wonder what this would feel like in my dick. I don't know what it is that so many dudes just, for some reason, instinctually come to the conclusion that this might feel good. Because to me, that's something you naturally want to avoid, because you just assume it's gonna hurt. But I guess him and all the sounding enjoyers out there are just built different. Without hesitation, I dropped my shorts and proceeded with my endeavor to explore the unexplored. About halfway, I was thinking this felt strange, but after the better part of a week of choking the chicken, anything different felt good. So I pushed it in until I could barely see it. I sat there touching myself thinking it wasn't half bad, but then I noticed my little wax probe was slowly disappearing deeper. He tried to squeeze it back out, but it wouldn't come back out. It disappears inside of him completely, and now he begins to panic. I think back to the Buckyball incident I once spoke about on the channel, how the guy eventually reaches for the X-Acto knife. But this guy hadn't gotten that desperate yet. His first idea, he's gonna pee it out. OP runs to the bathroom and pisses with all his might, but nothing. He then does perhaps the most mind-boggling thing in this entire story. He goes to the shower to look for it in his butt. How do you even conceive of that? Like, does he think the human body is hollow like a piggy bank and everything's just kind of rolling around in there? I mean, he was a young guy, but 15's not that young. This is like baby brain stuff. Surely you gotta have more sense than that. Although thinking about it, I did have a friend when I was about that age who thought you can get a girl pregnant from a BJ, so I guess, you know, some people are like that. In any case, you will be shocked to hear that he did in fact not find it in his butt. Then he comes up with one third and final plan. He's gonna jerk it out. He engages in an intense session that he refers to as the Fap and the Furious. He was imagining that there might be a massive explosion of jizz and candle wax that frees him of this prison. Instead, he just got a little trickle. A pathetic tiddlywink, as I once heard this referred to. So he's just sitting and crying in the shower now. He knows he should go to the doctor, but he has to tell his parents why he needs to go to the doctor, which in so many of these stories is the reason that they get way worse than they had to be. So instead, he just goes about his life with a pregnant wiener. Every step felt like he was being stabbed in the crotch. And he constantly felt like he had to pee even if he didn't. But when he went, only a little bit of pink-tinged urine came out. But despite his agony, he couldn't bear to tell his parents to go to the doctor. So I just lived with it every day. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The pain never got better. I just resigned myself to the fact that this was my life now. He claims to have lived like this for 2 years after the incident. Until the summer after graduation. He's at a party drunk off his ass. Then he hits the strip club with his friends, which seems a bit odd as he'd be 17 years old here, maybe 18 if his birthday was in a span of a couple months. Perhaps he's in Canada or the UK where this is allowed, or maybe he had a fake ID. In any case, he says he's having a great time and then he goes to the bathroom. He's pissing, but then suddenly the stream comes to a halt and he gets this weird feeling. And then I see it. Amidst the trickle of pink urine, I see this thing peek out the tip. It's the piece of wax I had lost 2 years earlier. I'm so drunk and excited, I don't know what to do. I grab the end of it very carefully and slowly pull it out. I stop for a couple seconds to look at it and ponder my life up to this point. Then I throw it in the toilet, finish my business, and go on my way. He describes the relief he felt. That this constant white noise of pain he'd been experiencing for the past 2 years just vanished in an instant. He felt light, like Goku taking off his weighted clothes. The experience changed his entire personality. For 2 years, this thing had caused me depression, anxiety, and embarrassment. With that thing finally out of me, I became less introverted. I was more open to going out socially. 2 months later, I went off to college and met the woman I would eventually marry. It was a strange and uncomfortable period in my life, but a valuable lesson was learned. Don't put shit where it doesn't belong. If you do, make sure you have some method of retrieval. Now, while TIFU will often give the benefit of the doubt to even the most ridiculous stories, people are not having this one. This one almost unanimously gets called out as bullshit for a wide variety of reasons. For starters, the 2 years thing. You really dealt with constant agonizing pain for 2 years straight. That's one of those things that, no matter how deep your sense of embarrassment, you'll eventually crack. Hardened war criminals will give up their life's work over less torture. And you're some sheltered 15-year-old who's afraid of his mommy? Like, I don't think so. As one commenter, SinkingFun33, pointed out, the intellectual skill in writing this story and the act described in the story do not correspond at all. Why not see a doctor if you are peeing blood for years? You didn't have to tell your parents what you did. And even if you really are that tough of a 15-year-old to survive 2 years of agony, this would eventually lead to some kind of health problem that wouldn't be possible to cover up. Perhaps an infection of some sort, or renal failure. There is some debate over whether hydronephrosis, the swelling of the kidneys, was possible from a partial obstruction like this. You'll also remember that the matter of him going to a strip club at 17 years old made me raise my eyebrow a bit. A redditor named Green6 pointed out a detail that I hadn't even considered. Story doesn't add up. Talks like an American. Don't know where in America you can go and get pissed drunk at 17 at a strip club. I hadn't even considered looking at how he talks. And sure enough, you can see that he's spelled endeavor as an American would, with no letter U. It was also argued that even considering the possible health complications, it's unlikely that the wax would stay there in that state for 2 years. Urine is warm and acidic. Within 2 years, it would have slowly came out way before 2 years. I call bullshit. Although another user argued against this point. Body temperature is usually too low to melt wax, and not even concentrated sulfuric acid would do anything to paraffin wax. Alternatively though, it's possible that the thing would actually get bigger, because the wax could gradually accumulate minerals from urine streams. Another user, When the Light Goes, consulted the experts at r/sounding. I find it hard to believe that a piece of candle wax would actually be sucked down into the bladder by some unknown force. As corroborated by the experienced folks at r/sounding, a solid rod would be prevented from going too far down the urethra by the greater than 90-degree bend in the ladder. If a sound does get lost, It can simply be retrieved when the penis becomes flaccid again. In the unlikely event that the candle wax broke up inside the penis, one really could simply push on their perineum, the skin between your willy/vag and your bumhole, on their prostate to remove the object. He also claimed, as many others did, that the story was essentially a ripoff of a story by Chuck Palahniuk, the short story Guts, which appeared in his book Haunted. In Guts, the narrator details a bunch of different ways that people he knew injured themselves trying to get off, not unlike some of the videos I've made. One of these characters, like OP, also winds up with an improvised wax sounding device trapped inside of his wiener, and he's afraid to tell his parents. That being said, aside from that, there are a lot of differences in the stories. For example, the character in Palahniuk's story heard about sounding from his brother who was in the Navy and told him that this is the way that Arabs get off. He also set out with the idea of sounding before he found the wax, considering objects like a ballpoint pen. He also doesn't panic at first after he loses the wax, as he figures it'll just dissolve inside of him no problem. But then the pain hits him later. The story also ends completely differently. This section of Guts concludes, they paid for the bladder operation with his college fund. One stupid mistake, and now he'll never be a lawyer. So although most of the comments in this thread were calling it a ripoff, I honestly think it could go either way. The narrative thrust is the same, and the manner in which the waxed is described as being lost is the same, but basically everything else is different. And that being said, viewers of this channel will know that guys are constantly finding ways to harm themselves in the pursuit of pleasure. It's unquestionable that countless people have actually tried this. And I actually have proof of at least one, but we'll get to that later. In the case of Guts in this story specifically, a poster named Lance Cooley made a good point. I thought I remember hearing Palahniuk sat in on sex addict support groups in researching that story, so it's possibly somebody's story, not OP's though. And this is true. He'd actually heard these stories while doing research for his novel Choked and used them in Guts. In any case, OP ignored all the posts mentioning Guts, but there were a few threads in which he tried to defend himself. It's kinda hard to follow now since he's deleted everything and none of these posts were archived, but you can kinda piece some of them together in the replies. The best of these engagements is where he loses track of how old he is. He apparently responded to someone saying that the story could have actually been as recent as 10 years ago, not necessarily 15 years ago. But wait, would that mean that he was actually 20 years old when this happened? Because there's a big difference between this happening to a 15-year-old and this happening to a 20-year-old. And as one commenter, R. Scholes, replied, so you aren't sure if you're 25 or 30 right now. A number of people also mentioned that they recalled reading this story before. Not the Palahniuk story, and that one has made the rounds before uncredited, but they meant this exact story. And sure enough, it had actually been posted to r/TIFU verbatim the year before. Funny enough though, that time the reaction was completely different. While there were a few very low rated posts that did make the Guts comparison, in this thread the people are mostly sympathetic. It's an absolute miracle you didn't get an infection. This is one of the many TIFU posts that have made me whisper to myself, what the actual fuck, LMAO. 2 years. TIL, dick wax is a thing. It's funny the difference a year can make. But as unbelievable and as unlikely as this story may seem, I actually did manage to find a case of a man pouring candle wax down his pee hole in a medical journal, published on September 22nd in volume 44 of Urology Case Reports. Endoscopic removal of self-inflicted urethral foreign body, a case report. The focus of the report is a 64-year-old man who turned up with an electrical wire in his urethra. But it also mentions that cases of foreign bodies found in the lower urinary tract have been increasing. Mostly for sex stuff, but also people with psychological issues as well as people who are doing it for self-therapeutic reasons. And it provides a few examples, including a case in which candle wax was found inside the urethra. There's not a ton of details, but it states that they removed it using xylol, which is a paint solvent. Xylol can cause a bit of burning pain, particularly in sensitive areas like the eyes, the mouth, or the pee hole. But I guess that's preferable to having a permanently stuffed up wiener. But anyway, that's all about kids in the sandboxing yourself with candle wax. If you like this video, turn on notifications and check out my video about the guy who got buckyballs stuck up there. I'm out.